back. There is no antidote. There is no antidote. There is no antidote. There is no antidote. There is no antidote.
Oh, hello. So nice to see you. So glad you could join us for this remarkable, wonderful, excellent Halloween show where we come in costume so you can be part of our weird family. Davey's got a family too. Show us what you have going on there, Davey. This is my favorite costume.
Well, hello. Hey, peculiars. That's right. I mean, in case anyone's wondering if I'm a true Mandalorian, I am carrying the Darksaber.
Very nice, very nice. And you have a baby with you as well, which, is not, you also have that going on.
Baby's downstairs with mom.
I love it. Well, we're really excited to have everyone here tonight, but let's face it, it's going to be a big show. There were almost 250 people originally signed up, and even if they're not all here, there's a lot of people on board. So I'm seeing some wonderful people popping up in the chat already. We've got some people here who've missed a couple of the last shows. Sam Fox is here. We've got, let's see, Anya. Anya's here. She's got mulled cider and sharp cheddar. And of course, cider being very important to us today. But most exciting of all, I have to say, we have our author. Hello, Mark. However are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Well, it's a really exciting show tonight because, of course, Halloween is our favorite holiday of all holidays because it's kind of the only holiday because we're always celebrating it, really, kind of. The really exciting thing about this, though, is that we have so many games and so many ways for people to win. And I know that while Davey and I might be in somewhat more obvious costumes, you have some costume ideas too. Am I right?
Yeah, it's a little more low budget than Davey's and yours, but it'll be fun.
All right. Well, we're going to be talking a little bit about that. We have some announcements and some other things that we're going to run. But before we start the announcements, I just want to say, I did not realize that you had been on Wheel of Fortune, and I feel like we need to get that out of the way. Davey, right?
Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa.
This dude has been on Wheel of Fortune and won like money.
We would have done a completely different quiz if I had known that.
I had a lot of good luck.
Yeah. Also, some of our folks say, "Dang, that is a bookcase," and it is. It's pretty amazing. Thank you very much.
My wife designed this whole thing and the lights and everything. So
yes, Jennifer Pierce has great background, which is awesome. Yes, thank you for our love for the costumes that we have here. Also, Thing is with me here tonight. There he is. He made a wonderful cameo saying thank you on the yes. Oh, you have someone to introduce to us later? It's a cat? Oh, okay. So Thing will be back to introduce a new peculiar little friend here just in a little bit. Thank you. Thank you, Thing. I just want to say that it is really, there's nothing that pleases me more than a good bookcase. I don't know if there's any possible way we can get a closer shot of that or not, but that is amazing. Look at that. That is too good. Okay, so we've got there's books, but there's also some arms, some dangling arms. I see some skeletons. I see tiny potions? Are there potions up there? It looks like potions.
If you call Fireball potions, then yes. You got it for the cocktail.
I love it. Anthro Girl says she loves the bookcase, loves the costumes. Several people have said it's harder to understand Davey without the helmet. Jennifer reminds us that that's against Mandalorian code. Are the skeleton arms special for Halloween, or is this year-round decor? We have some people ask.
Well, I did bring it up from the basement for for this event. But I do. The two-headed skeleton does hang proudly in the basement. I love that piece.
I like that. I like
I
that.
think I found it. Is that Mark on Wheel of Fortune?
It
That's-
is.
Yeah. Oh, that's from our mayor's website.
Excellent.
So tell us a little bit about how an author gets on Wheel of Fortune. I'm curious. I did actually hear this story, by the way, but you guys need to hear it too. There are children involved.
Yeah, I owe it all to my kids. So it was end of 2016. I was watching it with my kids, and I was doing pretty well from the couch because I think everybody does well from the couch. And they said, "Dad, you're so good at this. You need to audition for the show." And I'm like, "I'm not going to get on the show." But they kept bugging me, so I was like, "All right, well, let me go online and see what I'm supposed to do." So I made a video, like a 60-second video, answered some questions. I don't remember what I said, but I said something. And submitted it, and I forgot all about it. I figured they get millions of videos, so what are the chances, right? Which I'm sure is what most people think. So 6 months later, I get an email that says, "Hey, Mark, we're going to be in New York. I live in New York, and we want you to come audition." I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this." But then I'm in advertising, and I was going to be on a shoot for a commercial that week. So I called them, and there was a phone number, and I thought, like, well, let me just see. And a human being picked up the phone, like on the second ring, like, "Wheel." And I was like thrown off to the person.
Wheel? They just answered it. Wheel?
Yeah, Wheel. I was like, "Oh, hello." Like, and I told him what was going on. Like, "Oh, Mark, don't worry about it. We'll keep you on the list. We'll get you next time we're in New York." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So about a year later, again, I forget all about it. Like a year later, I get another email, and it turned out they were in New York again, across the street from my office. And anyone in New York, I was working at 11th Avenue and 46th Street,
awesome.
New York. Like, nothing's over there, but there was a hotel across the street, and that's where they were. So it worked out great. Did this live audition with 80 other people or whatever, and got a letter the next week that said I was in the contestant pool. I did really well. They have like a mock game that you do with you pretend the wheel and solve puzzles on a computer screen. And the person next to me was so bad that I looked really like they were terrible. They had one puzzle. It was like every letter filled out except for one, and it was electric toothbrush. And the guy called for a G. And I looked at him. I was like, "What?" So.
Like,
I did really well.
I didn't even realize that this was a skill game. Like, I know we were supposed to be. This is our Halloween show. I promise we'll get back to ghosts and goblins, but I just was blown away by the whole Wheel of Fortune connection because, frankly, chasing ghosts, getting on Wheel of Fortune seems almost like the odds are about the same. I think so. It's very. It's very exciting to hear that, frankly. I do have a question. We are going to be doing some announcements. The announcements will explain how you can win tonight. But one of the ways that you can win is by asking really good questions. So Mark is going to actually pick. I know I'm totally putting the onus on Mark. The top three, the three questions that really do it for him tonight. And if you win, we have three lovely gifts. They are called shower steamers, but they're in the shape of the skulls, and it's called The Skulls of My Enemies, which I feel like we could all watch the skulls of our enemies dissolve in the shower a few times a week, probably. So there will be ways to win that way. So since that is the theme, before we get to the announcements, I thought we might as well start with our very first question, which is from Mike Breen. He says, "So I have a friend." Really, I have a friend who is an illusionist, and I was struck by how similar his gigs are to the spiritualist cons. And actually, I think it was followed up by a point by Kristen Meston, who says that's because they are the same gig. And we were wondering, is that true? Is this conjuring magicians? Is this kind of the same thing?
There's so much overlap. There's quite a few points about this. So one thing I'll say is that in some cases, Magician's Act was inspired by a spiritualist act. So, for example, precipitated paintings. There was a couple of mediums called the Bang Sisters, and they would do these. You'd pick up a canvas, and they would do this illusion. Basically, they said this was a spirit's painting. They had like a bucket of paint, mixed in all these colors, and a painting would form on this canvas in front of your eyes. They kind of move things back, and they might shift things, and it would change, and the people would sit there and watch, and a beautiful painting would form right before their eyes as the mediums held painting with the canvas with their hands. And so there was a magician who was trying to figure out how this worked. And he eventually, he got enough details of what they were doing. Like there was 2 canvases involved, but then there was like a third one that was blank. And he figured out a method of how this could actually work, and said, this must be what they're doing, because this is what I figured out. They had something done in advance. It was put in the back. This little sleight of hand involved. And then I believe it was Howard Thurston knew this magician and developed the act for his own stage show, and would do these
that's fun.
things. So in that case, it's like magician actually kind of was inspired by an act. But yeah, I mean, so much of this, Houdini did spiritual sax in the early 1900s and then decided this was wrong. And he became obviously
Susan Ballinger just mentioned that, I think. Yeah, Susan Ballinger said that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I find so amazing about this is you have people like Houdini, who's incredibly well trained, obviously. All these magicians, each magician is sort of like an apprentice for a magician, right? They learn, like, these tricks are kind of learned from the masters. And yet the mediums who were doing these things tended to be these housewives who just were at home on their own and figuring this stuff out. And it's just remarkable. Although there was Eusapia Palladino, an Italian medium around the turn of the century. She allegedly was married to a conjurer early on, like maybe early 20s, late teens. I don't remember specifically offhand.
Okay.
And for some reason, despite all the scientists that studied her, no one seemed to bring up the fact that maybe she picked up a few tricks in this guy.
Well, of course not, because everybody thought women couldn't possibly be that smart.
That's a big reason. Is that
it is a big reason.
Exactly at these scientific men thought there's no way that this woman could fool me because I'm a
of course.
big smart guy.
There's the whole rabbit breeder, Mary Tofts. I studied reproduction in the 18th century, and there's this woman named Mary Tofts who convinces a bunch of obstetricians that she's giving birth to rabbits, and they're all like, "Must be true. She's a woman. How could she make this up?"
Lots. Yeah.
But so we have some more questions. More questions are filtering in. So just how this works, there's a lot of people on tonight, which I'm fascinated and excited about. You guys do please put your questions in there. If you have a question, it's always actually helpful if you say question at the front, because we are scrolling through quite a lot of comments as well. We're going to take a moment to do our announcements, and that gives time for those to matriculate up onto the comment board. So please continue writing your comments and questions. And Davey, roll the announcements. Lovely. So the first thing I want to say is there are a lot of ways to connect with us. So if this is your first show, it is our first time simulcast streaming on Facebook. So hello, Facebook. Hope you're there. But the lovely thing about this is that we have the capability of you connecting with us on Facebook all the time. As in, like, we're all there all the time. It's kind of crazy, just the degree to which I live there at all times. So what's fun about it is you can join our group. You can join our group and talk about your peculiar hobbies. You can talk about the books you're reading. We have Davey actually on that Word document. If you can, we've got some links there that we could pop into the chat so people can see them. We also have Twitter. We've got a Discord after party that happens after the show. And that's cool because then you can see each other and continue the conversation, which means, especially if you're in costume, tonight would be the night. So please do join our group, our Facebook, and all of the other wonderful ways that we have to connect because, frankly, we can't get enough of each other because we're just a big, weird family. And when other people don't understand you, we probably will. So please do connect with us if you can. Davey, next slide. The Halloween ways to win. So welcome. This is our Halloween party. I love Halloween so much. And one of the things Halloween means to me is winning stuff. That means partly candy, but it also means fun things like this brooch, if you can see it there. So this comes from the Old Operating Theatre Museum. Yes, and it is a lovely little saw with some little dangly bits hanging off of it. And we have a costume contest tonight, and there's 2 winners of the costume contest. First and runner-up will both win that lovely brooch. It's already packed up and ready to go. So we'll be running the costume slides in a little bit, and then there will be voting live during the show. The second way that you have to win this is all down to Mark. Mark has a little bit of a game planned for us. I wonder if you would tell us a bit about it, Mark.
Well, I have a few masks I'm going to put on, or almost my face more specifically, of some different characters that are featured in my book. So if you can recognize who that is, I'm not sure. Would we first want to put in the chat, I guess? You win something. I have 5 of them.
Yes, 5 of them. And let me tell you what you win, because y'all might remember last year's Halloween party, we contracted with Nito Chocolate, and we like them because they're vegan and nut-free, so everyone is safe, but they're also amazing and they taste great, and they have little skulls on them. So if you guessed correctly, you win some chocolate from Nito Chocolates, which is very exciting. Also, he's got masks. The third way to win, I've already mentioned, which is best questions. So again, make sure that you are putting your questions over in the comments, and we are going to get to those, ask those questions. The 3 best win the skulls of their enemies, which, again, melting the skulls of your enemies just seems like such fun on Halloween. Next slide. Almost next slide. There it is. Halloween cocktails. You guys, this is all down to our maven of cocktails, Kat. Kat created this. The winning name is Spiced Spectre, though there were several runner-ups that were very, very good. But this is a beautiful, wonderful cocktail. And it is alcohol-free unless you decide to add the magical potion that is Fireball whiskey, which we talked about earlier. So you can add magical potions, and the magical potions can be added to this wonderful beverage, or it is family friendly as a non-alcoholic drink if you so choose. Next slide. Oh yes, I'm very excited to say that tonight is also the night that we launch the subscriptions for season 4. Peculiar Book Club has a lot going for it, but one of the most exciting things is the fact that you can be part of our family. And being part of our family means you get swag, you get special deals, you get 10 extra shows, and you help support the club so that we can keep going, and you get to choose the authors next time. For instance, Kat Warren, who is going to be joining us next time, she was recommended by one of our readers, Ed Young, Katie Mack. We've got Mary Roach back. A lot of these were actually people that were recommended to us by our subscribers. And so if you're interested in joining, I hope that you are, then please do. I think you are going to have a lovely time. We love having more of you as part of our family because, frankly, it's no fun to be weird by yourself. It's much more fun when it's kind of like a coven. So, next slide. Is there a next slide? Oh, yes. Our costume contestants. So we're going to run through these twice because they're that good, but also because we want you to have a chance to ruminate before we ultimately vote. The 8 contestants for this evening are Cara Downey, Inez Lindsay, Leanne Weiberg, Rebecca Gibson, Sam Perrin, Sharon Roney, Stephanie Smith, and Rachel Len. Some of you are super fun and just being here for the first time. Rachel says, I'll join just for Ed Young. Good. Make your way to the website. So we're going to go ahead and run through these right now because we are so excited to show them. Sky, though, says that her actual costume this year is a burnt out grad student. And I just want to say she's pulling it off wonderfully, even though we don't have the pictures. So, Davey, will you run the slideshow, please? We have Cara Downing, creature in heels. Oh, they don't go very fast. There we go. We have Inez Lindsay, Spooky Bugs. Also, she made that jacket, and it's got popped out eyeballs on it, which is just awesome.
Yeah, the craftsmanship on some of these is really impressive.
It really is. 3, Leanne Weiberg, Witch Ranger. 4, Rebecca Gibson. She's actually kintsugi. You know, the where you break something and you put it back together with gold? Sam Perrin. This is her also a birthday announcement because her birthday is right here in October today. Sharon Roney and she convinced her parents to be part of this too, and they went as the Killer Bees. They have guns.
Nice, nice.
Stephanie Smith. Stephanie Smith is a zombie, and that is the most convincing zombie I have ever seen. Rachel Lenz is Draco Malfoy, and very convincing as well.
That's pretty good. She got the pose down too with the wand.
Pose,
good
yeah, the
stuff.
wand. She's got the like dark mark thing.
That's it.
Oh,
We
there were
also
a
have the
couple
birthday
birthday
photos,
announcements
too.
that I think we missed in there, Dave. You'll have to grab those for us. A couple other.
Yeah,
Oh, there we go. Anna Katerina Peters, October 20th birthday, and I think we had one more. Oh, two more. Karen Pynchon, October 29th, and Kimberly, October 13th. My birthday is October 24th. I felt like, I didn't want to be all alone in that. So we have a couple people saying, "Oh my God, killer bees." These are great. There's Tori Trent. Good. Your quote or your comments are working this year or this time.
Does this count as Halloween? A spooky?
No,
a
some
spooky
of them are just
carnival?
birthday.
I think it counts.
It sort of counts. Says I was contemplating being a corseted skeleton, but I never got my corset. I love it. I love it. These look great. Seriously, those are wonderful
I thought that was a
costumes.
setup to a joke. Like I thought about being a skeleton, but I couldn't cough up the bones.
Ah. Okay. And also Lexi Boylan, I am stealing sheet faced. Sheet faced being the how if you add Fireball whiskey to our drink tonight, you become like a ghost. Sheet faced. I love that joke. So those are our costumes. We will return to those later because there will be voting, because that's how you win the fun pin. But we're setting this aside for a moment just to come back to our questions, of which there are many. Oh my goodness. So now I'm having to catch up here. Davey, you might have to help me. Karen says, I have so many books to read. So could you give me 3 good reasons to read Chasing Ghosts next? And I think that's a great question.
Sure. I mean, I think this book is filled with all kinds of amazing, remarkable stories. It spans time, the whole human experience, going back to ancient cultures, through spiritualism, medieval times, haunted places, more recent events, poltergeist, and even gets into some of the scientific explorations into either finding evidence for ghosts or showing how certain things that people think are paranormal might actually be explained by science. And there's a lot of interesting theories, and it makes you think. I think it will make you think. I wrote this book without an agenda, so I'm not trying to say that ghosts exist or ghosts don't exist. I just like to present stories I find really fascinating and evidence for or against. If something is easily debunked, I will, I explain how and who explain these things. So, I leave you to make your own decision at the end what you want to believe. But I haven't been counting reasons, so I don't know how many I've maybe given you.
Well, also, I can give a few more.
It's filled with beautiful imagery. So
that's
aside
right.
from like historical artifacts, there's these great illustrations. I'm trying to get to one quickly here.
I actually pulled up Leanne Weiberg's question, which is next, because she said, tell us about Lauren O'Neill, who did the interior illustrations and the cover for the book. And frankly, I actually just texted her up on Twitter today saying we should probably get her a lovely t-shirt too from the Peculiar Book Club, because she's such a big part of the book and the way it works.
Yeah, there's another one of
those are great. Yeah, those are beautiful.
Mark Twain over the Ouija board, guiding the medium's hand.
Right.
Here's another great one. Oh, this is another great, not Lauren's picture, but just historical. The Davenport brothers.
Oh yes.
So there's a lot of great imagery. So Lauren, I hadn't met Lauren personally, so the publisher picked her, and I thought that her work was just fantastic. I love what she did. I actually reached out to her about joining this tonight. I sent her the invite, but I don't know if she's on, but she's in Ireland, so there's a significant time difference.
Right. Yes. I was just there recently.
yeah. But I'm thrilled with the work she did. It's
beautiful work. And I would say there's a couple other wonderful reasons to read the book. One, I'm quite interested in the way women utilized the spiritual mediumship as a way of getting some power at a time where they didn't have much. And so even though it's not a point of me saying, oh, they were all pretending so they could get power. It was rarely anything quite so black and white. But it is true that while they were respected as mediums, they suddenly had the ear of the scientific community. They had the ear of the public. They had the ear of men who frequently didn't pay any attention to them. And I just think that that's a really fascinating aspect. And while it's not like its own section, but it sort of threads its way through the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's different... different reasons that happen in different ways. I mean, for one thing, like obviously all modern spiritualism began with the Fox sisters in 1848, these two young girls who made a career out of this. You know, ultimately they weren't happy with what happened. Their older sister sort of led the way and kind of managed their career, but it's remarkable what they did. And then there's cases like Marjorie, the Witch of Lime Street, who sort of butted heads with Houdini famously in the 1920s. And I had spoken with her great granddaughter, which was great to talk to her. I got one of the photos in the book is from Marjorie's personal collection that the great granddaughter was able to give to me. And you hear how she, you know, Marjorie began her mediumship shortly after the death of her brother, who suffered like a horrible death on like a train track or something, like just a really awful death. His name was Walter. And so the ghost that she would typically channel was her brother Walter. And her mother was one of the most frequent attendees of these seances early on, like before this became a thing. And so there was a thought that, thank you, I'm glad to hear that, Karen. I hope you'll like it. One of the great granddaughter name was Anna. She was saying that these seances may have been to help her mother grieve a little bit, to feel like, oh, this is my son, I'm hearing his voice. And then things kind of like got out of control. Like these were all private things going on in her apartment in the Boston area. And then, you know, scientists got, you know, wind of it, and all of a sudden it became a giant thing and she became famous. And she didn't want any of that to begin with, but so lots of interesting.
Bunch of Ghost Facers fans popping up here. This must be supernatural, folks. I don't know what that means, you guys. I don't know what it means. I'm sure someone will explain it to me shortly. We got another question down here by Sky. Question: what part about writing the book surprised you the most? And I am interested in this because I have some questions of my own, but I don't want to jump the queue.
Wow, surprise! I mean, it's a good question. There's quite a few. I'll just try to think of I think I'm going to start like way in the past and then more recent. Just like kind of two ends of the spectrum. One thing I thought was just really fascinating is when you look at ancient cultures, how similar ideas were about death and what happens after death, and sort of like a journey you go through towards, you know, the afterlife. And like you can look at like ancient, you know, Aztec culture and ancient Egyptian cultures. And here's like two civilizations that are so like physically far apart on you. And then, you know, times of course as well. So it's not like they had any communications with each other. One read about another one like that. Like none of that was happening. Yet all these similar ideas evolved, very similar. And I thought that was fascinating. You know, you wonder like, are there things that we once had knowledge of that have since been lost and replaced by more science-based types of things that we can see and understand more objectively? And then, which leads me to another thing. I love some of the stories of how science can explain some things, but not everything. So, for example, I have a story. One of them is a frequency called infrasound, which is 18.9 hertz. We don't detect this consciously, but it's a frequency that can cause like your eyeball to vibrate. It's not that you feel that. Again, it's so like, oh, but it's happening, and it affects vision. It gives people like shadowy figures that you might see on the corner of your eye. It can give you chills and make you feel afraid. Movies have been known to use it to make you more afraid in that horror movie. And it would cause people to have these feelings of fear, that there was a presence in the room, and then your mind translates that to like, this must be a ghost, right? Because you're trying to make sense of something.
Sure.
And where does this happen? Old cellars, narrow hallways. The guy did tests of where he was finding this happen, and it was in places that are typically thought to be haunted. So, but he admitted like, well, this doesn't explain everything, but it does maybe explain some things.
Well, you have a wonderful quote at some point. I forget what chapter it is now, but you have a quote about we haven't disproved ghosts. We have not proved. Wait, we've proven that we can't prove ghosts. Is that how it goes? That was badly butchered. You did it very well, and I did it very poorly.
You can't prove anything.
Yeah, well, it's this concept, right? That it's like trying to disprove God. At some point you just can't get definitive about things. And I felt like that was really quite interesting because you're right. There's so much that we can explain. I was watching some ghost hunting kind of show where this guy walked in and was like, well, it's cold in here because you've blocked the register. And you're like, huh, yeah. But they can't all be explained that way. So Amanda Johnson asks, did you attempt to interview Zach Baggins and the Ghost Hunter guys? Like, I know that it's in the book, you talk about it, but did you actually get to interact with them in any real way?
Sort of. I did interact with the executive producer of Ghost Hunters, and he connected me to one of the producers that was on the road with Zach and his crew. And I reached out to him, and I thought it was going to happen. He's like, yeah, hey, let's try and talk next week, that sort of thing. Bugged him several times. Eventually, I never heard back from them. But I did get a quote from the executive producer in the book. And he talked about how he kind of went into it not really believing, but then after some of the experiences that they saw on the show, he was sort of changing his mind. But to be honest, I didn't watch too many of Ghosts of any of those shows, because first of all, there's so many. The Travel Channel, it's like all ghost shows all day. So it's one of those things like, am I going to fall into this rabbit hole of all these ghost shows and get too wrapped up in that? If I cover one, like all these books I've been writing, like in the past few years, this one, I have a new one that's coming out next year on UFOs and aliens, and there's so much to cover that it's part of the challenge is balancing, like, what do I not cover?
I feel that way about writing history too, though. Sometimes, like, I'm working on the interwar period. Literally everything that has ever happened in the interwar period, apparently. So yeah, I get it. It's a difficult balance. Kristen Meston asks, is it just my impression, or did mediums using cabinets tend to get caught out more easily in their trickery? And you might need to explain what a cabinet is.
Yeah. I don't know if they got caught more, but the cabinet thing it's very interesting because the cabinet came about because mediums got caught. So, so I showed you when I was just flipping through the book, I held up a page that showed the Davenport brothers with those 3 images from around the mid 1800s or so. So the Davenport brothers were 2 young kids who came about shortly after the Fox sisters. So it was like early 1850s. And they were doing seances with being like tied into their chairs. And so they would have instruments. They'd have different instruments around the room. They'd be tied to their chairs. Lights would go out. The seance would begin, dark seance, and you'd hear these instruments playing, and they might be flying around the room. You might get bonked in the head by like a ukulele, that sort of thing. And then so they go to New York City. They bring their show on the road. And there was a police officer in the audience, and he held up a lantern and caught one of the brothers running around, having escaped from the ropes and play the instrument, whatever he was doing. And they kind of got busted, and then they retreated back to their home in Buffalo. And it's instead of like saying, well, we got caught, they developed the spirit cabinet. And so the spirit cabinet, resting atop these 3 different sawhorses, so it's off the ground, you can see beneath it, and they would climb into this cabinet, and their cabinet was split into 3 sections, so they would be on each of the end sections, and the middle section would have a little window at the top, and they'd be tied into their chairs, and again, you'd see instruments flying by through that window, and you hear the music. And what they could do is they could just untie themselves inside the cabinet behind the doors, make all their ruckus, and then they would put themselves back into the knots. Like they might just loosen up one arm or something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They can get themselves right back in position where you open the doors and lo and behold, they're still tied up. So they could hide all the action. And they actually never claimed that they were spiritualists or anything like that. They just put on the show and everyone's like, oh, they're spiritualists. But they traveled the world doing this. And they eventually got busted in England by a magician, John Maskelyne, who then recreated the act himself. I did have a story. I saw someone ask the question about stories that got cut from the book. And
I think a little further down, yeah.
And if you want, I have a site called weirdhistorian.com, and you'll see a bunch of those stories on that site because I brought them up there. But there was one of another woman who did an act where she was in a cabinet, and when they'd open the curtain, there it is. A bunch of animals would materialize and like run out from the cabinet, like from the dead or from the other side or something like that, right? A port somehow. And so Joseph Dunninger, a magician who worked with Houdini and also famously debunked a lot of mediums, had written about how he debunked her. And basically she would be led into the cabinet, inspected and everything. People would volunteers from the audience would go up and look, make sure everything's good. She's got nothing going on, totally clean. And then these things would happen. One of the volunteers, of course, was working with her, in cahoots, who would walk up wearing some sort of large type of dress, and between her legs would have like a sack of animals, and would then transfer the animals to the medium, who would then release them. I mean, it's crazy. So like there was
sack of animals between your legs. We're gonna have to bring that up in our next one where we talk about sex, guys, because I feel like, you're on the road to becoming an absolute unit, Mark, which is a very important joke for the peculiars. This book is the absolute unit. We'll get back to that in a minute. This all started with Lindsay Fitzharris. And actually, I saw a question earlier where Leanne was asking how excited you might have been to get a quote from Lindsay Fitzharris, who's been on our show 3 times. She's a dear friend of mine. But yes, she accidentally said someone who was voicing her book was an absolute unit, and we've never let her live it down. So we make sure it comes up in every show.
I was definitely thrilled that Lindsay gave me a quote. She I think she mentioned the book, and I reached out to her to thank her, and then asked her if she would mind giving me a quote and send her the book. So yeah, that was great. Really appreciate it. She connected me to you, so I appreciate that as well.
Yay!
Thanks,
That's true. She recommended you for the show.
Yes. Yeah.
Abigail Schroeder has a question. She says, I read the Winchester Mystery House may have developed, weirdly, due to modifications for age-related disability rather than ghost story. So say closing off stairs she couldn't climb, etc. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. The low risers on the steps. So basically the sort of switchback staircases. I have a picture of that in here too, in the book. Which it is really weird. But yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. There was more to help her with her own, physical condition to get up the stairs a little bit easier. There's a lot of interesting stories about Winchester Mystery House.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean,
yeah.
I as soon as we have several more questions to get to, but one of my burning questions, and someone else has already asked it, though I've now lost track of it, is whether or not you've had any supernatural experiences. We're going to hang on to that just for a minute to get to Jennifer Pierce's question. She said, oh yeah, sorry, Davey. We'll get there in a second. Jennifer Pierce asked, discussing the Trans-Allegheny Asylum, you mentioned syphilis was treated with malaria, which I love. Talk about a version of chemotherapy that might not have been a great idea. Can you tell us more about intersections you found between science and the unexplained? Because that's all in your book everywhere.
Yeah. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, first of all, it's crazy for lack of a
own thing.
Oh my God. Yeah. I visited there and like, wow, this place, you can see how the horrors must have just been awful. And what a place to spend eternity if you are a ghost there. So back to more real science to explain the unexplainable. So I talked about infrasound, which I thought was interesting. There's another story I talked about in the book that I thought was really cool about a professor in Canada named Michael Persinger, who created this thing called the God helmet. And it was a helmet. You would go into like a room and it'd be complete sensory deprivation. And through this helmet, he'd have like dials and wires going into your temporal lobes, and he would send ultramagnetic fields into your brain, basically. And he would dial up like the intensity, the duration, that sort of thing, right? And he would see how he could affect the brain through EMFs. And people had all kinds of experiences. People thought they saw God, hence the God helmet. They saw aliens, and a lot of people thought they saw ghosts. This was all just based on messing with your temporal lobe. So, basically he was creating these artificial experiences, which is fascinating. So again, is it possible that the electromagnetic fields that are out there and that we've created through all the technology that's surrounding all of us everywhere is affecting the brain in certain ways that make people feel certain things? I have another story about a paranormal investigator who talked about a case in New York City where a couple in the apartment was complaining the boyfriend was having all kinds of horrible paranormal experiences in their bedroom on his side of the bed. The girlfriend did not. And he discovered that there was an elevator bank right behind his side of the bed on the other side of the wall. And all the electromagnetic fields from that elevator bank were causing him to have these issues because they moved the bed and it all went away.
Fascinating.
So here's that. But then I also have a quote. So just to counter that, because it's like fascinating. I asked the executive director of the Rhine Research Center, his name is John Kruth. I asked him about that, and he has a quote I put in the book that I thought was great, where he said something like, I hope I don't read this, but he said something like, just because I can make you experience the taste of lemons doesn't mean you've never actually had a lemon, or you've never actually tasted a lemon. So maybe we can create these artificial experiences, but it's not to say that that's the only way it can happen. It could still exist in other ways. And it also doesn't explain every kind of paranormal experience that people have had, and that I've discussed in the book as well.
Right. No, that's very cool.
Yeah.
One of the things, so I actually have temporal lobe. Well, they don't know what I have. I'm in a textbook, but I have problems with my temporal lobe, and I used to have temporal lobe seizures, and I can tell you for a fact they are messed up. Yeah, they're very interesting things.
Yeah.
Quite. Yeah. The worst thing that happened is I was typing and the words kept falling off the screen, I thought, and I was trying to put them back on the screen, which didn't work. And I thought, I'm never going to finish this paper. And that was my main concern, which tells you a little bit about me. I was just like, I'm never going to get this deadline. That was my principal worry in that particular situation. There's lots more questions that are filtering in here, which I love. But you guys, it is time for some music to break up the show. So we're going to do our halftime music with Charming Disaster. And this is a great one. This one is actually a claymation video that was made for the song Baba Yaga. So they're going to introduce it. We're going to watch the video. When we come back, Mark is going to mask up.
Hello, Peculiars.
It's Charming Disaster.
And we have a song for you.
It's a stop-motion music video animated by Stefan Zanuck.
Please enjoy.
Baba Yaga.
Have you seen it in the glen? Her cottage up on chicken legs. Better hope that she ain't home. She'll suck the marrow from your bones. Sweet old lady, she is not. Stick you in her stewing pot. Baba Yaga. Ooh, Baba Yaga. Wife of grown a wicked witch. Got a broom, a silver birch. She might give you what you need. I'ma need a poppy seed. Sweep away, I'll trace her track. You don't want her coming back. Baba Yaga. Ooh, Baba Yaga. Country girls are merchant sons. What's the reason you have come? By compulsion or free will, or brought here by my spinning wheel. Seeking apples made of gold, as my sister she would know. Baba Yaga. Ooh, Baba Yaga. Turn her home into a forest when it's time for you to flee. Her kerchief to a river, her mirror to the sea. With her mortar and her pestle, she will follow close behind. You are spinning on her spindle, she'll unravel you in time. Lives behind a fence of skulls. There's no room for just one more. Served by disembodied hands, mistress of the borderlands. Bony leg and iron teeth, give her something good to eat. Baba Yaga. Ooh, Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga.
Wow. Was anybody else drumming along on their desk? That was fantastic.
Yeah, I was posting. Lexi Boylan says every time that they perform a song on our club, they've got something stuck in their head forever, and that is so true. They're great. I love them very much.
That was great.
And of course, they are coming back for next season as well. I have one other announcement, which is Charming Disaster has had a Kickstarter going for their next album, Supernatural History, I should say, and there's still time. It closes on November 1st, and so please, we're running out of time. If you want to contribute to that affair, they are also, if they meet all the right numbers that they need, meet their goals, are having a tarot deck made because they do tarot readings for their shows, and they will be doing one for the concert they're playing for us as our winter concert this year, which is free to subscribers and which you can get yourself. With a ticket if you're not a subscriber, which is going to be a lot of fun. And since we're talking about fundraising, we at the Peculiar Book Club also depend upon our subscribers. And so I mentioned that season 4 subscriptions are now open. Davey and I also did a little video for you. So here it is. Maybe. Or not. Do, 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 do.
We should probably introduce another video first. I wasn't ready for you to go to that one.
Okay, what's next?
I believe we've actually spoken to a medium.
Oh, that's right.
Video.
That's right. That's right. You guys, I almost forgot. This is a very animal heavy kind of show. You know, like animal magnetism was also a very important part of mediumship sometimes. So we reached out to the animal kingdom and found an animal medium. And that is what we're going to show you next. Daggone it.
Hello, Peculiars. So it turns out Kenobi is secretly a medium to the spirit world. However, it only works when he chews this dog bone, which we dug up from an old cemetery. We're going to now demonstrate this and see if we can talk to spirits. Ready, Kenobi? Okay, let's go. All right, I think it's working. I think some strange things are happening around the house that might mean that the spirits are here. Okay, wow. Some weird things have been happening. I think Kenobi is ready to let the spirits speak through him. Well, there you go, Peculiars. Conclusive proof that Kenobi truly is a medium to the spirit world. Back to you, Brandy.
Kristen Messon mentioned that all those things falling off the mantle, possibly the ghost was a cat.
Possibly.
Yeah, it's very possible. It's very possible. Speaking of cats, I think Thing may be bringing up a little friend for us to meet here very shortly as soon as he gets this little message. So Thing, when Thing hears
Thing.
it, he'll come
Credit, by the
right
way,
in. Oh, Thing.
credit to Maggie for doing some excellent camera work during that video.
That was lovely. Oh, it says Sam Fox says Kenobi made her pup perk up from her nap.
That howl was contagious.
This is so cute, so cute, so cute. Yes. Oh, you peeked on us, Davey. Anther Girl said, "This is not the way."
Oh, no.
Oh, Thing is here. Has Thing arrived? Thing is bringing with him a little friend.
I think we need a solo view for this.
Who has come to visit us. And so thank you, Thing. Thank you, Thing. I'll be handing him back to you shortly. So this little charming friend here is our new peculiar cat. So he belongs to all of you as well. And we've named him Darwin because he's curious and likes to explore. And it is International Black Cat Day, which I didn't realize. So thank you very much for Susan Ballinger for pointing that out.
That is adorable.
He is adorable.
Really is.
He's so cute. Yeah, you're a little cutie. Oh, thing. Oh, yes. There we go.
Oh my God, the comments are coming in so fast. The peculiars are already in love.
Yes, welcome, Darwin. Darwin love. Yeah, he's charming. We met him. So here's what happened. I was looking for a cat locally, and this one was posed in a Halloween costume. And I thought, okay, I have to go. And I met him today, and I walked in and I picked him up, and he just went like flump, like, I'm yours. Hello. So yes, so he is our new wonderful little kitty cat. So we will
That's how it's
never
done.
forget Bart.
That's how those bonds are formed. You just know when you find the right animal.
You do. The fact that he was wearing a Halloween costume did help a tiny bit. But yes, and he's all black on Black Cat Day. I love it. Yeah, sorry, I know I took us way out of context there, but black cats are part of Halloween too, by golly, and they are frequently not adopted at the same rate as other cats, and so it's really good to have a little black kitty in our lives today. He had the zoomies earlier and then immediately did like a faceplant into a nap. I love this. So between Kenobi and Darwin, I feel like we have covered the animal magnetism part of this show.
I think we had another video we were mentioning.
Oh, yes. There's another video we were mentioning about season 4.
Hi there. I'm Brandy Schillace. I'm the host of Peculiar Book Club along with Davey Berris. We are so excited because this is the 4th season that we're getting ready to start in 2023. It's a whole year season, and not only that, we have an absolutely phenomenal lineup of authors, nonfiction mainly, but also some fiction, some screenwriting, and all of it under that heading of peculiar, right? It's going to give you the weird facts and history and medicine and science and all of the great things that bring us together as a group. I also want to say that it's most exciting for me because who knew that we'd make it so far? And so much of this depends upon our subscribers. You subscribing to our club gives us the chance to produce this amazing content, to have singers and songwriters, Charming Disaster, who is often with us, but also many new artists who are joining us as well. It's such a wonderful experience to support authors, to bring authors and readers together in a live chat, and also to support the podcast itself, which we're adding things to all the time. We are so thrilled to bring this to you, and we hope that you will join us as subscribers so that you can get all the events that are coming up in season 4.
Hi, I'm Brandy's co-host, Davey Berris. Not only will you get all of that, but you also get ridiculously silly sketches, you'll get heartfelt conversations, and you'll get some pretty challenging quizzes that we'll put our authors through, just for fun though. So make sure you join us for season 4. Is there anything else I'm forgetting, Brandy?
There's comedy. There's squid. Did I mention that there's squid? There's squid. Yeah. Science, experiments, squid. There's also squid. Many squid. Lots of squid. I'm not sure what the collective noun for squid, the squids are. Squid is. It's the squiddiest.
It is the squiddiest. By God.
It is the squiddiest.
It is the squiddiest. So I know we're running a bit long. We always do for the Halloween show, but I have a few more questions for you, Mark. But first, I think it's time. To hand out some prizes for some face masks.
Okay. Start with the easy one. Well, I think it's easy. I don't know. I could be wrong, but here's the first one.
Oh.
All right, let's give
All
the
right.
peculiars a second. They're a few seconds behind us. So
They're a few seconds behind us. Let's see what we think. Who is this amazing figure?
Former Green Bay Packers football coach Mike Holmgren.
There we go.
Susan Ballinger suggests that it's Conan Doyle.
That's right.
Skywalker said Roosevelt, but Susan Ballinger has our first Conan Doyle. Lots of Conan Doyles came in after, but a squad of squid. I should have said that. Yes. So Susan, you are first. Hang on to that, Susan. You're gonna get some chocolate. Okay.
Okay.
Next up. Who are we looking at here?
Mm.
Not my cousin Randy, though. For a minute, I would have thought so.
Let's see what they say. I have a good wrong guess. I don't know if I
What's
have the
your
right
wrong
guess on
guess,
this one.
Davey? What's your wrong guess?
Looks kind of like Mo from the Three Stooges.
Abigail suggests one of the Fox sisters.
No.
No. Kristen
No.
Meston? Sepia, no. Leonetta?
No.
No. Oh dear.
Oh,
Interesting.
It's too difficult.
It's hard to
Is
stump the peculiars.
Bum, bum, bum. Uh-oh.
Anyone else?
Anyone else? We got another Fox sister guest.
Is it
No.
Mrs. Doyle? She was in the book.
Is it Mrs. Doyle? This is hard. Someone said. No fair. Anne B. Sky S.
No. Who is? I'm not sure who Ann B is.
Marjorie.
No.
They might need a hint. They
Sarah
might need a hint.
A hint.
White, Stephanie asks.
No. Although looking at her, that seems like a pretty good guess.
She looks like Amberly says.
Her first name starts with a Z.
With a Z, so it's not Lizzie Borden.
No. Here's another hint.
Trout?
That's very close. Oh, Everett. Yeah, I think Everett gets it.
Everett gets it? Okay. Everett, you get it. Who was it? Tell us.
It was Zona Heaster Shue who married Trout. His last name is Trout.
Got it. Okay. Zona Everett Ching.
Yeah.
Everett Ching, I do not have so you are going to have to email me afterwards. Don't worry, it's easy to remember. It's peculiar at BSCHILL. You know what? Maybe I'll put it in the chat. Maybe my last name is not actually the easiest thing in the world.
You know what we could do? We can put it up on the screen. We have that power.
Oh yeah, well that's
And
yes.
there's a
So
Twitter handle.
yeah, that's me. So my email is peculiar@bskillace.com, or you can actually contact me on Twitter. But if you win tonight, if you want the chocolate, I have to find out your address. So tell me. Okay. All right. You're welcome, Everett. We're really excited to have you here. Okay. Next.
This one's. I made the head a little too small. I can't see quite right, so I'm there. That seems better, right?
Oh dear.
I can do a hint on this one too. Let me see if I can.
I'm having a hard time because Darwin is crying at the door. I'm sorry, Darwin. You can't come in right
I might
now.
have done that in a show.
Oh, we got two Twains. Sorry, it was Allison and Tori, and they both came in at the same time.
It's not Twain.
It's not Twain.
I can see why you'd say that. No, I made this. Sorry, I made this more difficult than I thought.
Something Kristen said.
That's kind of close.
Kind of close.
You're onto something there. It's not HH. It's something else. And then there's an H.
DD.
Yes, DD Hume.
DD. Oh,
Wow,
Hume. Yes.
good job, Kristen.
Well done, Ito Chocolate. Sadie Simon wants me to hear me say my last name, Skillace, over and over again. Yes, Skillace. I know it looks like shoelace, but yes, Kristen, there was an H eventually. Well done.
Yeah. Okay. You're like, oh, you're right there.
Okay, next up.
This one might be really tough, so apologies.
Oh no, you think this one's really tough? I feel like I recognize the mustache. He looks like a performer. Oh, is this one of the? Sorry, I'm not supposed to give hints. Oh, people look stumped. Any hints for us there, Mark?
A little bit of this sort of thing.
Oh, a little bit of this sort of thing. Okay.
A little bit of writing.
The man with the haunted mustache. One of the Davenports? Leanne asks.
No.
That's what I thought he was. That is a mysterious mustache.
Rachel joining us on our Facebook feed.
I know. And actually, I almost sort of feel like Rachel, should probably deserves chocolate for that.
Yeah, I mean that would be accurate, I suppose.
Dennison?
Him?
Dennison?
No, I don't know who Dennison.
No. Oh, Kristen says she knows it, but she can't win again. So Stephanie says he was the one with the slate.
That's right.
Slate.
Should we give her? I think we give her the win. Isn't it your birthday? Weren't you a
Wait,
birthday?
Everyone, flip through your books and find that chapter, quick.
Mustache. Who said it? Now I'm.
Should we call and give it to Stephanie?
I think Henrietta might have a
Henry
decent
Slate. That's right. Jennifer Pierce is right.
Jennifer Pierce is right. Henrietta says a Victorian cosplaying 1970s porn star. I want to give you all treats, frankly.
I got one more, and I couldn't cut eye holes in this one, so I'm not going to be able to see.
Okay, Jennifer Pierce got that one. All right.
Last one.
Oh, yes. Abigail says listening to the audiobook is a real disadvantage here. Yes, it's true. Oh, gosh. Who is that? That is not an attractive picture. Are there two people there?
Maybe.
Sort of?
Depending on what you want to believe.
A spirit coming out of her neck?
Oh, no, not ectoplasm. Oh, it's the ectoplasm lady.
Yeah, yes.
Marjorie?
No.
A fox sister?
No.
Mark has brought us the best and most difficult game yet. It's true. Steven Tyler. Amberly.
Do we give up on this one? Oh, there we go. That's right.
Skywalker.
The last one. Go Sky. Woohoo. All right. Okay.
I didn't know how hard or not these would be. I knew Conan Doyle would be an easy one to start with.
Well, it is tricky. Some of us
really would be way too easy.
Right. Well, yeah. So all of you who won chocolates must contact me. My email address again is peculiar@bschillace.com, or you can contact me on Twitter or in any of the other ways. I don't know. You could try. I actually have a little Ouija board and placard in my ears tonight, so you can even try the Ouija board, but probably email is better. Sky says, I am complete. This is the way, Sky. Okay, fantastic. That was good. Now, of course, we have two other kinds of games that are going on here. We're going to have a quiz that Davey's going to do, and we also still have to have you vote on the costume contest, and we're going to show those to you again, and then we're going to take votes. Incidentally, over on Facebook, we're actually running another costume contest because so many people posted to Facebook instead of here that I decided we would award to the most likes over there as well. So don't worry, we're all going to go there. Sky says she got a dial tone on the Ouija. Nice. So very first thing we're going to do is we're going to go right to Davey's quiz. Following that, we're going to vote on those costumes. You guys, oh my God. Okay, while we're doing the quiz, I have to go rescue Darwin, who is having an absolute connection right now.
All right. Go get him. Go get him. So I'm not going to lie. I know it's the way, but I could barely see out of this thing to do the quiz. So
I was just thinking how impressive it is that you've had that helmet on for this long.
You should have seen me walking around the zoo this weekend with it on. That was an accomplishment.
Oh,
all right. So our quiz this week, because of what you said, I had to throw up a Wheel of Fortune quiz for us here. Now, come on, Peculiars. Now, I'm going to be honest here with you. My Photoshop skills aren't talented enough to reveal one letter at a time, so you're just going to have to guess the puzzle. Peculiars, help them out here. Do we know what the Wheel of Fortune puzzle is? It's a YouTube and podcast is the category. YouTube and podcast is the category here.
Who's got? You're not asking me, are you?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I'm going to guess it's Peculiar Book Club.
He's correct. Look at that. What a champion. There they are. They're guessing it. Skywalker, Kristen. All right, that wasn't the actual quiz, but that is what I could do with 20 minutes of Photoshop while Brandy is talking to the guest. So, all right, your actual quiz this week. Now, come on. It's Halloween. It's Halloween movie season is one of the best times of year. So, of course, we had to do a Halloween movie quiz called I Ain't Afraid of No Ghosts. So, 3 questions about ghost movies. And of course, we're starting with Ghostbusters, an all-time classic. So the Ghostbusters, sometime adversary, sometimes friend Slimer, is much more than a ghost. He is technically a focused, non-terminal repeating phantasm, or a Class 5 full roaming vapor, a Class 5 full-bellied muncher, or a Class 5 full-figured beauty. What do we think, Peculiars? They are shouting A.
Yeah, a lot of
I actually thought it was B.
Well, you are the guesser. This is your quiz. So what do you think, Mark?
I don't know why B sounds familiar to me for some reason. Although
I think you should go with
everyone says A.
Go with your belly.
I'm going to go with my belly gut here.
He's guessing B. The answer is it is A. It is a full.
Why didn't you guys tell me?
Muncher was the ghost from the most recent sequel that came out like a year or two ago.
That's
the
why
ghost
that's
was
why it
Muncher.
was in my head. It was like something was going on that made that sound familiar to me.
I can't believe nobody guessed full figured beauty.
I'm not full on crazy with that.
All right. Movie number 2. We're going old school here. I mix it up on the quiz. In 1959's House on Haunted Hill features a few different scares that may be due to some humbuggery, including the death of one of the hosts, Annabelle, via a faked blank. Spoilers, by the way. It's in the beginning of the movie. It's not the end of the movie. So, spoilers, by the way. I should have led off with that. Via a faked gunshot? Is it a faked stabbing or a faked hanging?
Oh boy, we got a lot of. Let's see. C.
Yeah, no, C was my initial thought too. I'm trying to think back to the movie, but
Kristen, Kristen says she watches this movie a lot. I do. This made me really want to see it. All right, we're gonna need a final.
So I'll go with the audience, but I feel like I remember a gunshot in that movie too. But
Okay.
Final answer.
Where are we going?
Final answer. What is it gonna be? C. And the answer is hanging. He is correct. Yeah, there are some guns passed around. There's some things. I'm not going to give any more spoilers away, but it does make me want to go watch this movie. All right.
Sounds like a good Halloween.
You spoil something. Rebecca said, "Can you spoil something that's 63 years old?" All right. Question number 3. I don't think this is a spoiler. In the supernatural horror classic Poltergeist, young Carol Ann announces the beginning of the ghostly invasion by declaring the iconic line, "They're among us, they're here, or they're awake." What do you think it is?
I know.
Yeah, I can go with B pretty confidently on that one.
B's. There's a lot
Pretty confident. And the Peculiars are with you on this one. The answer is they're here. You are correct. Pretty good. As Meatloaf said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Good job, Mark.
He scarred me for life, frankly. My father let me watch it when I was 3 because he was babysitting and he wanted to watch it. It's not a good time to watch that movie. Hello.
Good job, Peculiars. The Peculiars know their Halloween movies. I had no doubt.
They do. Someone said that we were talking about spoilers, and someone up there said someone was upset that they spoiled the movie Titanic by saying the Titanic sank at the end. It's like, maybe we don't know our history very well.
Yeah.
What's the matter? I know.
It wasn't his book. You did have some good pop culture references in your book. There were some good.
There were some great ones.
Some good ones in there.
Yeah,
Sky.
Thanks. I was trying to weave in where I could. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's such a good book for that. Okay, we have to get to at least one of my questions, which is, so, do you believe in ghosts?
So that's a good question, and I've been asked that a lot. And I actually talk about this I talk about at the beginning of the book that I can't say I've actually had my own paranormal experience that I feel like I definitely had. Maybe there's some things I chalked up to coincidence in the past, that could be explained differently. But I don't know that I feel firmly one way or the other, but I do choose to think that there's something that's there and that there's something that's possible, and I choose to believe that. One, there's a lot of stories in here that are really compelling. and I really can find no scientific explanation for it. We can maybe get into some of those too, but I like the idea that there's something more, and I like the idea that like seeing a ghost, I think would be such a amazing, refreshing experience because it would make you feel sure that there's something more beyond death. And I hate the idea that after we die, we go into a box in the darkness and we just go nothingness. That like freaks me out and terrifies me. So I'd much rather choose to believe that maybe there is some other existence, wherever that might be, but we don't completely just go away for good. So based on that and based on some of the fascinating stuff in the book, I like to believe that there's a possibility out there.
I have to say, I've had some very strange experiences in my life. I grew up in an underground house next to a cemetery. And what I don't tell people is also on our property was a pet cemetery, and also on our property was a settler's graveyard. So I saw some things as a child where I was, it's not hard for me to sort of, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see that. But again, I think partly, you're right. There's so much there's so much that we don't understand. And partly, I don't necessarily believe in ghosts the way that I think ghosts are often portrayed.
Yes.
But I love Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Leather Funnel, which is super creepy. If you haven't read it, it is creepy as all hell. But it basically has this idea that memories cling to objects. And I just love that idea that you could sort of accidentally walk through someone's memory. So maybe it's not a ghost exactly, but this concept that somehow your thoughts and your feelings and memories kind of remain somehow being about, in the ether is really appealing to me. And I don't believe it with my hard brain, but I like that idea quite a lot. I
got into some of that kind of theory called the stone tape theory, where like it can like attach to stone in a way, and it's just like a repeating memory or occurrence that just continues playing, almost like a movie that just keeps going to the same spot, and that's what you're maybe experiencing in a certain place.
Sky said like a mental imprint on a space-time that gets shared between generations. Kind of, yeah. It's really cool. Linda Boucher says Warehouse 13. So, there's all these different, there's so much we don't know. And I think partly I stay open-minded because I don't want to be somebody who says they actually know it all, because I don't. But of course, I tend to lean towards science as we do usually on this show. But all the same, I thought it was a good question to ask. Yeah. I'm fighting with this small animal who wants to eat my.
Yes, you are. Cats and microphone cables do not mix well.
Like super excited about that microphone cable. So I think it is time for us to go ahead and vote.
Oh, Sam asked if you could say the name of the book again. The super creepy one.
Oh, it's a short story called The Leather Funnel. The Leather Funnel. Yeah, it's great. People don't realize how much like spooky shit Arthur Conan Doyle. Like he didn't just write like Sherlock Holmes stories. He wrote all kinds of really weird, scary, messed up, amazing stuff. I think all of it.
His poor friendship with Harry Houdini. Did they ever make up in the end?
I don't think so.
I don't think they did.
No, I mean, and part of it was
always strained.
Yeah, well, Houdini was just so disappointed in him, really. Like, he felt, how could you, come on, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Someone so brilliant, Yeah.
That was like the relationship thread weaved throughout the book. I was hoping they'd get back together in the end.
Yeah, no. Not a happy ending. It's like, what is it, Must Love Dogs, but without the reunion in the end. Maybe it's not like that movie. Anyway. So what is this? No, some people actually thought he was responsible for Houdini's death.
Yikes.
Really? I haven't heard that theory.
No, didn't Houdini die of a ruptured appendix?
Yeah, someone punched him in the stomach. Which was just, what a stupid way to go. If you don't know, Houdini had a thing where he said, "Hey, I can take a punch to the stomach because I, have so much muscle in my stomach. I got all these great abs." So, he's obviously developed to be able to perform the stunts he did, the escape routines. So that was a thing that he said he could do, and he would welcome a punch to the stomach. But I think it was like backstage before a show, and someone came in and he wasn't ready for it, and they just went and punched him in the stomach.
Oh.
Like a 20-year-old college student or something like that.
Oh God.
And he went on and performed, and then after he was like, "I'm feeling a lot of pain, like something happened." And yeah, that's what happened. He ended up dying from that, which is like
that is so awful. That's just
a horrible way to go.
No.
On Halloween, by the way.
Well, appropriate for us to be talking about him this evening with a black cat in my lap and everything. Death by sucker punch, says Rachel Lenz. That is true.
Did Lindsay do Houdini on the Curious
Death
Death
I
of?
remember. I only was able to access like half of that series, so I wasn't able to watch the whole thing. Some people think spiritualists put him up to it. I didn't know that either.
Oh, they thought Doyle hired him or something. It's in the book The Secret Life of Houdini.
Okay.
I have that on the shelf back there.
We must find out. Okay,
Take a look.
costume time. It is time. Let us roll the. No, you can't eat that. Costume. So here are the eight people, and we're going to run their names. And if you have a vote, you need to put it in there. We're going to be counting them up to see who we think wins. It's helpful if you also add the number, but I realize we might not be able to. So, ready? Here we go.
Here we go. Number 1, Kara Downey.
Creature in heels.
Go ahead and fill up that chat with who you're voting for.
Number 2, Inez, Spooky Bugs.
I wish we could zoom in on that. I don't think I can.
I know, the back is really cool. Leanne, Witch Ranger. That's a severed limb in her hand there.
Yes, it is.
Rebecca, Kintsugi, which I might be pronouncing wrong. Sam Perrin. Very cool makeup. Sharon
Bees.
Stephanie Smith. Zombie.
A lot of blood.
Rachel Lenz, a really incredibly accurate. She told me she bleached her hair for this.
Oh, that's commitment right there.
Is it?
I've definitely shaved. I've shaved some mustaches for Halloween costumes, but I've never bleached my hair.
Redhead in order to pull off my costume for Good Omens. So I do not.
All right, there are the numbers again. So go ahead. If you need the numbers, there are the numbers again.
There are the numbers again. Okay. I am running up here to see.
Stephanie's getting some votes.
Rebecca's getting some votes. Someone wants Kara's dress. Killer Bees gets 1 vote. Rachel Lenz, Stephanie. Rebecca. Draco. Oh, you guys are like running neck and neck.
We might have to count these after the show.
We might have to count these after the show. Oh my gosh, you guys. Holy crap. Okay. All right, get your votes in the next few. No, let go of that. Sorry. Okay, get your votes in the next few minutes here while I ask the last question, which I have queued up at the top there. Well, I think I do. I have to go look at the starred ones.
Do people just bring you their ghost stories? Do people just see you in a restaurant and they're like, Mark, I got to tell you about this time I got haunted by a ghost?
Well, someone asked earlier about the surprising things I learned in the book. And one thing I forgot when I was answering that was I was surprised by how many people would share a story with me. When I would say, hey, I'm working on this book, and I tell them a little bit about the book, this was like friends and coworkers who had never heard anything like this from them before. And I'd hear all these amazing stories of people I knew that had these incredible experiences and just never really talked about it. So I was actually surprised to see how many people, just regular people I knew that had experiences that really had no clear explanation for.
Yeah. I've certainly had experiences I can't explain. Like my best ghost story is that we live on that weird property underground. But there was a wood down below our house where I was walking there one day and it sounded like someone called my name, but I don't mean like called it from far away. It sounded like someone whispered it over my shoulder, but I'm by myself in the woods. So I turned around and you do that dumb thing where you're like, ha ha ha, trees talk, ha ha ha, and you go back to the house and don't go back there for a while. Never told anybody because I didn't want to sound like a lunatic. And then 2 years later, after we'd moved from there, we were talking about this and I mentioned it at dinner and my brother was like, wait, that happened to me. And my mom was like, well, that happened to me down there. And my dad was like, that's strange. That happened to me down there. So yeah, not all whispering my name. I mean, whispering each of their individual names. That would have been worse. But yeah, so that's a weird one. Like 4 individual accounts.
Yeah, and I've heard other kinds of things like that. It's interesting. And one of the things I talk about is and you touched on this earlier, the people experience ghosts, not like you see them in the movies or anything like that, but for some people, it's a completely audio experience. You know, some people might see something in their mind's eye, not like it's physically in front of you, you know, or it could be completely olfactory. I mean, there's different ways people might experience some sort of presence. And so
I didn't think it was a ghost at the time. Honestly, it only took on significance when we all four talked about it. Like at the time, I thought, I must be very tired. You know, I didn't. You explain these things away typically.
Yeah, right.
So one person asked, and this is Rachel. Rachel had said, "Do people who believe in spirits, ghosts, and the supernatural tend to also believe in UFOs and aliens?" Since you're writing a book on that, is there sort of Venn diagram, or are these separate circles?
Oh yeah, there's probably a good Venn diagram version of that. I'm sure there's some overlap. I mean, one theory that famous ufologist, UFO researcher, scientist Jacques Vallée has put forth is that all these things are kind of related. Aliens and UFOs and creatures from folklore, goblins, whatever it might be, might all be creatures or beings that are existing in a parallel dimension. You know, something else that can poke through. So like an interdimensional type of theory that he has. This was, goes back to the late 60s when he wrote Passport to Magonia. So there are thoughts that there's crossover between what these entities are that people are experiencing in one way or another. And beyond that, I do think that some people might be experiencing one and the other as well.
Yeah. Susan said the middle of that diagram is everyone who works at Discovery. Possible. Yeah. I get that. That's really awesome. It's a good way to end too. I think there's so much in this book, and I feel like we've scarcely touched the surface, but so many of the stories were really compelling. As I read, I found myself really sympathizing. I didn't typically read them and go, what a kook. I went, oh yeah, like that would be wild. That would be strange. Here we are trying to make sense of things. And it's very difficult. So apart from the historical stuff, the more recent things were even more, I think, impacting. Because as you point out, you'd think, okay, we've gotten to the modern age. We have science now. All these ghost stories go away. And they don't.
They don't. Right.
If anything, it's like we just have more of them because we can find them more easily, maybe.
Yeah.
I have close friends who they don't even have ancient houses. They have modern houses, and they have stories from their parents' houses that they've shared with me. I don't have any personal stories, but I've heard some pretty convincing firsthand stories.
I'd be disappointed if I didn't have some. I lived underground next to a cemetery. I mean,
yeah, it would be weird. That would be weirder if you didn't have any.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I know I put you on the spot a little bit, Mark, but we did want you to pick your 3 favorite questions for tonight so that we could hand out some more prizes.
Yes. We don't have them I can look at, do we?
Oh boy.
We do. Actually, if you look at the starred comments, these are the actual questions typically.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, a little bit easier. They're all good. You're all
Sharon,
by the way.
Sharon says my house is 135 years old and not a peep so far.
Isn't that disappointing, Sharon? I feel like that's just like you've been involved,
Mine is 132 years old. Actually,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've never had any experiences in this house either, but I'm above ground. And I have chickens, which I think frighten ghosts. Isn't that why you have to kill one at midnight in order to conjure? I don't know.
I like Jennifer Pierce's question about intersections between real science and the unexplainable.
Awesome, Jennifer.
This isn't to say that all your questions aren't fantastic.
All of your questions
are.
All your questions are amazing.
So many
ones we didn't get to. I did like the first question, Mike Breen, about the spiritualism and illusionist. That is a fascinating comparison.
And Mike Breen has a lot of skulls of enemies in order to melt, I think. So that'll work out well.
Chloe suggested that we all need chicken protectors.
This is the truth, man.
And then sorry, I feel like this is hard to choose. I'll go with Skywalker's about what surprised me the most.
Oh, nice, nice. All right. Well, you all have done very well for yourselves this evening. Those of you who won, you do need to still contact me, and you will receive plenty of happy gifts. And of course, we will have to tell you. Darwin a Greek, yes, meow squawk is all he makes this noise all the time. Sorry, he's lying on his back, so I will rub his belly right now. That's what's happening. You're all winners in my book. I'm really excited to share all these things with you guys. The other cool thing, the other way to win, basically, is if you do join for our season 4, we have some really cool swag this year. We decided to go with hats and scarves that say peculiar, so that way we can advertise how weird we are, which I think is, all to the good. Because like sending up your solar flare, like this is my weird flare, and then people can find you. So that's how you draw other weird people to you is, having these kinds of that or a cat. You can walk around with a cat, also draws people to you, but not always weird ones. So, you take what you can get. This has been great. Those of you who won for the contest will help cost
The contest.
Thank you. Will be notified after the show because we can't count as fast as you can vote. But it has been wonderful having all of you on. It has been so good to talk about ghosts and to be dressed up and to win stuff and to find out that people were haunted and to look at masks that were much more hard than we thought. And again, thank you all of you for being here for this wonderful show on Facebook as well as YouTube and our first trial run of our Facebook live stream. And of course, I was going to hold up the cat, but he has just fallen asleep. So can I lift you up? You mind? I know. Good night, everybody. We're happy that you could join us at a place where, if you're weird, you're family.
You got the blue bottle blues when you wake up in the night. Don't make a big mistake, 'cause you can never make it right. When you reach out for the vial, feel the ridges in the glass. It's a matter of survival, baby, better watch your back. There is no antidote. There is no antidote. There is no antidote.